Do you now or have you ever owned a freshwater tropical fish aquarium? Most people who've dabbled in the hobby of keeping tropical fish have thought about the possibility of breeding them. My name's Rhonda Poole, and I stumbled onto breeding angelfish accidentally. But if you're interested in trying, let me tell you how it's done. Breeding angelfish is not very difficult, the equipment is not very expensive, and the entire process can be very rewarding. The first step is to identify a breeding pair. As I mentioned, I stumbled onto it accidentally, so let me tell you what happened. I had a 55-gallon fish aquarium. It was a community tank. I had like 4 or 5 angelfish, a couple of clown loaches, an algae eater, maybe a couple of other things. And I looked over one night, and 2 of the angelfish were back in the back corner making steady trips up and down and up and down. And all the rest of the fish were kind of corralled to the other side of the aquarium. And it seemed like every time one of them would get a little bit closer, the male, I learned later, angelfish would turn and start pecking at them to get back over there. So I went over to take a closer look, and she was laying eggs. It was really amazing. Um, but then once you turn off the lights, you go to bed for the night. In the morning, the eggs were gone. The fish eat them. They just love them. So once you have identified a breeding pair, you need to put them in their own separate fish tank. But before I talk about that, I'll tell you a little bit about identifying males and females. The male angelfish is a little bit larger than the females, and they kind of have a prominent hump on their head, where the female angelfish is a little smaller, and her head kind of goes down, rounds down smoothly to her mouth, where the male he kind of has a hump up there. You can also find a lot of information on identifying male and female angelfish at such websites as breedingangelfish.com. Well, now, like I said, you have to put them in their own tank. It needs to be at least 20 gallons of water. The perfect tank is called 20 high. It's taller than most 20-gallon fish tanks, and angelfish like to move vertically a lot, so it's really preferable for them. And make sure you don't put no gravel in the tank. You need to put some flat surfaces. What I did, I put a plastic aquarium plant that had really wide leaves, and I broke a clay pot, and I put a piece of a clay pot in the bottom of the fish aquarium. And I just watched and waited. And it was about 2 or 3 weeks. I looked over, and there they were doing their dance. And what it is, she goes and lays the eggs, and the male follows behind her and sprays them. And then she goes and lays, and he follows and sprays them. And this whole process goes on for looks like a couple of hours. Actually, I've never even watched it until it completely stopped. Um, well, then by morning, the leaf, they chose the leaf, was covered with eggs. Looked like hundreds, but I'm sure there weren't that many. And in 3 to 4 days, they hatch and they turn into what's called wigglers. And by their name, that's all they do is wiggle. They can't swim, they just sit there and they wiggle. And it's so amazing because the parents, mine did, they took such wonderful care. If one of them would wiggle off of the leaf, the male or the female would swoop down there, suck it up in his mouth, and blow it right back onto the leaf. It was really amazing. Well, in about 4 more days, maybe 5, the wigglers actually start to swim. That's when you need to separate them from the parents, or in my case. Now, I have heard tell of angelfish that will raise their babies, but mine didn't. As soon as they started swimming, they would eat them up. It was kind of a running joke in the house that they groomed them so well so that they would have such a scrumptious dinner. uh, so when the fish start swimming, you have to separate them. And what I did, I had set a 10-gallon tank up on the lower shelf of the fish aquarium. It was ready to go. It had good water in it. I had the air going into it, and that was it. Nothing else in the tank. And I took a gravel cleaner. And basically, a gravel cleaner is like a cylinder. It's about this long and like that big around. And then it's got kind of a long tube. And normally you get the suction going and you stick it in the gravel and it pulls up the dirt. But what I would do, I get the suction going and have it going into the 10-gallon tank, and then I would just vacuum all those little babies right down to that lower tank. It was really cool. You couldn't catch them with a net. It would probably kill them. This did not hurt them at all. It was really the fish store owner said it was a really nice idea that I came up with. Well, now that you have them and their fish in their own tank and they're swimming, you have to feed them. And what you have to feed them is live baby brine shrimp. And brine shrimp grow quite quickly, so you have to hatch them yourself. You can buy the kit, again, at the local fish store. And at night, before you go to bed, you set it up. You put in some water, the proper amount of salt, some dried brine shrimp eggs, and the air bubbler and the light bulb to keep it warm. And when you get up in the morning, they're hatched. So what you do, you get a really fine net, and you take and you pour those brine shrimp through that net and get the water out, and the brine shrimp stay in the net. And then you need to rinse a little fresh water in there to get rid of the salt. And then you just take them in the net and you put it down and you just dump them down into the tank for the fish to eat. Well, in about, I would say about 2 weeks, they start kind of finally taking on the shape of angelfish. And in about 2 more weeks, they are big enough really to put in another fish aquarium or sell to the fish store. What I did, I would trade mine for store credit so my hobby kind of paid for itself. Well, these are the basics. Now, if you're a first-time fish owner, there's a lot of information that you will need regarding water, condition, temperature, filtration. There's a lot of reliable websites out there, or you can go to your local fish store owner. It's been my opinion that that's the best way to get advice because, hey, he's got a lot of tanks in there. He knows what he's doing. I know it seems like it's a lot of work, but once you get the hang of it, it goes pretty smoothly, and I really enjoyed it. Let me show you some pictures. I have a picture here. This is the male and female, the parents. I'm trying to get them in here so you can see them. There you go. Now see the male is bigger. And then I have a picture here of the wigglers. Let's see if I can get them in there so that you can see them. There, you can kind of see them there. You see the little ones on the leaf right there. Those are wigglers, 2 days old. And then here's some babies that are 4 weeks old and ready to sell. They're somewhere between the size of a nickel and a quarter. Well, that's the process. If you're thoroughly enthralled with this process, I recommend that you give it a try. If you fail the first time, that's okay. Just try it again. I'm sure that you can watch some wigglers start swimming as tiny babies and grow into beautiful angelfish. Thank you.